Welcome back everyone. One of the biggest challenges right now regarding the conflict in the Middle East is the Shia ignorance towards it. Unfortunately, despite the conflict in Palestine, a lot of people are still struggling to understand the whole situation. One particular caller was an excellent example of this. The caller named Stuart called into LBC to discuss the future of Israel and Gaza with James O'Brien. This isn't a personal attack towards Stuart, and the reason for doing this video is because I think it's very interesting as he represents a large proportion of people. Let's get straight into it.
Now, I haven't thought about that for a very long time. But
really?
Yeah, because I've always expected there will be a two-state solution.
Yes.
But since this Hamas horrendous attack, it's proved that it can't happen.
So straight away, Stuart brings up a point which probably a lot of people are thinking too. He said he expected there would always be a two-state solution, but a Hamas attack proved this can't happen. Immediately, the first thing I would say is the media is to blame for this. The reason why is because the media has driven the narrative that all this conflict is a result of October the 7th and nothing prior to that. The emphasis has been placed on one particular date, which was massively broadcasted all over the world. That one particular date has been used by Israel as well as other countries to do whatever they want, whenever they want. The conversation gets a lot more interesting as it unfolds. Let's continue.
Now, the only way that you can have a one greater Israel is a sort of federal agreement whereby the West Bank, which was never Palestine, it was an Arab area which was controlled by...
Just to clarify one thing, I mean, the notion of Greater Israel is, I mean, it goes back to Theodore Herzl, doesn't it? I mean, it's been part of, and it's been cited by members of Netanyahu's government since both before and after October the 7th. But you just sort of zoned it out, had you?
Yeah.
So for those people who don't know who Theodore Herzl is, he is the founder of Zionism. Zionism is a political movement that supports the establishment of a Jewish-only state in Israel. Theodore Herzl's idea of a greater Israel included the occupation of Egypt, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and all of Jordan. Now you might be thinking, well, that was all in the past. It was and it wasn't. A recent picture showed IDF soldiers with the Greater Israel badge. All these things are very important and many people don't understand how far back this goes.
I mean, the whole thing is Netanyahu's government, there are a lot of right-wingers, unfortunately.
Fascists.
I suppose you could call them that.
But one of them has been convicted of terror offences.
Yes.
So terrorists and fascists.
Yeah, there are. But you're dealing with an army of fascist Islamists called Hamas, and they're controlling 2 million people, and they are stealing from them, they're bombarding them, they're killing them.
But this was all true before October the 7th.
Yes. This is
I don't know that bombarding is something that you can lay at the feet of Hamas in quite the same way you can lay it at the feet of Israel.
We know that they have killed their own people, making it out to be Israelis. But I mean, what I'm talking about is a greater Israel. I'm talking about a sort of federal state.
Right.
The Muslims would live in one area, and they'd be free to come into greater Israel, and the Jews...
What would the area they live in be called?
It's still Israel.
Right.
But you've got 2 million...
What if they didn't want to?
Well, this is up to negotiation, I suppose.
Well, I think Stuart is a little bit confused here. I think he's referring to the Hannibal Directive, which is a policy by Israel to shoot and kill their own people. If you don't believe me, just Google it. We know they shot at their own people, and a quarter of the 1350 killed was by Israel themselves. This just goes to show the sheer level of ignorance. He said the Muslims would live in one area and the Jews would live in another. What about the Christians? This statement alone indicates that Stuart believes it's the Muslims who are at fault here. So before Palestine, the Ottomans ruled for 401 years. During this time, there was peace amongst Jews, Christians and Muslims. What Stuart is suggesting is basically apartheid, racial segregation based on people's race or ethnicity.
I'm just asking, negotiations aside, if a significant or even a tiny majority of the 2 million Palestinian people didn't want to live in a greater Israel, what would happen then?
Well, I suppose they called it a different name, but I mean, you could say Texas was Mexico. Texas now America.
Well, what if they didn't want to live under Israeli rule? whatever you decided to call the territory?
Well, you can have a federal and where they have their own local government, but they have proved that they cannot have weapons.
Right. And can the rest of Israel have weapons? The rest of Greater Israel have weapons?
Greater Israel does not want weapons. They don't want to be the biggest power in the Middle East.
Not what I asked, is it?
Stuart, you really need to do your homework, dude. Council of Foreign Affairs shows that Israel is the largest recipient of US aid and arms. Over the last 78 years, the US has supplied Israel military assistance worth $310 billion. I think it's the total opposite of what Stuart was meant to say. It's not that they don't want it, they want it all.
No, but they don't. I cannot believe the great majority of the Israelis want that. They have got a great technology.
So they wouldn't be allowed weapons either? So you're describing a massive ghetto, I think.
No, I'm not.
What do you think you're describing then? Or apartheid then?
No way.
Yeah, well, it is, because you've got different laws. You've got different laws according to your religion or your ethnicity. You're Palestinian, you can't own weapons. You're Israeli, you can.
Well, they're not Palestinians. They never have been Palestinians.
What are they?
They're Arabs.
Okay, you're an Arab. That's even more. That's even closer to apartheid, isn't it? You're an Arab.
No, it's not.
You can't. Different laws for Arabs, then?
No. Yes. But you're talking about in America. You've got federal states, and they have different laws.
Not for different. Not for different ethnicities.
No. But if you live in
so why are you mentioning America?
Because that's a federal.
But the states aren't determined by ethnicity; they're determined by land borders.
Well, you've got places like Arizona, which has got a lot of Indians in it, and they control their own areas in some respect. But I'm not saying
so they're not subject to American law.
No, they are subject to American law. Right. American law is just human rights and everything.
Okay. What if you were half Arab, half Israeli? Which laws would you have to obey?
You would obey the actual laws for the actual country.
Would you be allowed a weapon?
I don't. Hopefully, they'd say you wouldn't be able to carry weapons in the streets, like we're not allowed to carry them here.
Okay.
I mean, the government as a whole would.
And if the 2 million people currently living in the Gaza Strip, who you'll forgive me for referring to as Palestinians, didn't like your plan at all, what would we do then? Because I mean, spoiler alert, they wouldn't.
Well, if that happens, then we're stuck where we are now. I'm looking forward to somehow that they can live together.
Well, that would be a two-state solution.
That's what we've been aiming for 80 years. But
and the closest we ever got was when Yitzhak Rabin was Prime Minister of Israel, and you remember what happened to him.
I remember what happened to him.
Who killed him?
The Israelis do have lunatics as well.
Yeah, who are now in the government.
There may be some in the government, not all of them.
But the solution is to ghettoize the Gaza Strip.
No, it's not ghettoizing. It's a matter of letting him have.
Sorry, carry on. It's a matter of what?
It's a matter of having a human rights, being able to live together. So you can have Jews living,
but with different rights. The rights are determined by ethnicity, not by humanity. You've already said that.
So the Muslims can do whatever they like religiously, as they are allowed to do in Israel. But the only thing I'm holding back on is that the individual shouldn't be allowed to carry weapons.
Okay.
And that would be the same for the Israelis too.
Okay. And we'll just, I mean, the question of what happens if the Palestinian people who want their own country object to your proposal is tough, really.
They've never had a country.
Just tough.
No, excuse me. They've never had a country.
You have it, guys. That was Stuart and James O'Brien discussing the future of Israel and Palestine. Stuart suggesting, and I think it was very clear, apartheid. I'm just very surprised that we're living in a day and age where people are struggling to see the truth. He's suggesting apartheid, not realizing the Palestinian people have been subjected to that for the last 80 years. You can't make this stuff up. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Support me by liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace out.